welcome back. Right, now here we have the parabola and here we have the straight line, the same graph. I've just redrawn it neatly now. For what values of x is f of x increasing? Now let's understand what's the meaning of increasing. Increasing, the meaning of increasing means the gradient is positive. Similarly, decreasing will mean gradient is negative. Now, this is the parabola, this is the parabola. Increasing means gradient positive, decreasing means gradient negative. Now, you must know your straight lines. If a straight line goes this way, then the gradient is positive. If a straight line goes this way, then the gradient is negative. So we must know that, basics. If a straight line goes this way, gradient is positive. If a straight line goes this way, the gradient is negative. And these straight lines will help us on the parabola or any other curve. On the parabola or any other curve. So now let's see. If you look at the parabola and if you put a straight line to touch it here, if you touch it, it's called a tangent. If you put a tangent to touch it here, you can see that the gradient of this line here is positive. You can see the gradient of this line is positive. Anyway, if I touch it, the gradient will be positive. It's going this way. So the gradient of this parabola is positive right through here. Now it's very important to know what is happening here. This happens to be minus 3, 2, it's half. And let me just check what is the other value. Minus 6,25. Now what happens here at this point? At that particular point, the gradient is equal to 0. At the turning point, the gradient is 0. So after the turning point, the gradient is positive. So I'll just write pluses everywhere. So here the gradient is all over, here it is positive. So the gradient is positive all over. Obviously, if you see when I put my tangent here, you can see that it's going like this line. So it is negative. So on this side, the gradient is negative, you see. But there, at the turning point, the gradient is 0. So now we can answer the question. For what value of x is f of x increasing? Means for what values of x is the gradient positive? The gradient is positive for this number that way. So what is this number here? Well, this number here is actually half. We're taking it from here, it's actually half. So this is actually half. So the gradient is positive, or it is increasing for half or more. Half or more, or greater than half. So you say for x greater than half. You can't say equal to. If you say equal to, it means the gradient is 0. For half, the gradient is 0. But the gradient is increasing from here. The gradient is positive here. For what numbers? For numbers more than half or greater than half. So the numbers are greater than half. So let me just put that answer in red for positive. So the gradient is positive for those answers. And those answers are x is greater than half. Then you want the gradient negative. Now the gradient is negative all over here. So the gradient is negative. I'll put blue for negative. Blue is equal to negative. So from here, the gradient is negative for all these x values. These are less than half. So for what values of x is f of x decreasing? Means for what values of x is the gradient negative? It is negative for that x and all that. And all the numbers are less than half. So here you will say x is less than half. Alright, let's see now. Next question, I can do it now, number 7. Write down the equation of the axis of symmetry. The equation of the axis of symmetry, it is given there. There's the axis of symmetry, that's half. You can read it from there, x is equal to half. Next question, write down the equation of g of x if it moves 1 unit up. Alright, let's write that. Number 8. G of x moves 1 unit up. Now in our previous DVD we did this. G of x is a straight line. If it moves 1 unit up, if it moves up, it only affects the y, only affects c, the y-intercept. So, what was given? Y is equal to x minus 3 was given. Now, if the graph moved up 1 unit, that means plus 1. So, the new equation will be y is equal to x minus 3 plus 1. Therefore, the final answer is x minus 2. Because when you simplify that, it becomes y is equal to x minus 2. And you can even see that if I go to the graph, if I move this graph 1 unit up, it will go to minus 2. So the graph will go there. So it will still have the same gradient. It's a parallel shift. It's called a parallel shift. It's parallel to this line. It will still have the same gradient, but it's going through minus 2. The y-intercept is minus 2. That's one way of doing it, or the other way is, there's your given equation. If it moved up 1 unit, just add 1 to the y-intercept, and then you get this answer. So 2 ways to do it. Look at it on the graph, or do it algebraically. That was given. Now it's moved 1 unit up. It will only affect the c. Just add 1 because it moved 1 unit up. Up is plus. For y, for vertical, up is plus, down is minus. So plus 1, and that's your final answer. Alright, we just got a few more questions to finish on this.